Hey guys, so I just recently did the deck profile for my Scareclaw deck, and now I'm going to go through some combos with Scareclaws, kind of show you some different things you can do with, depending on what you have in your hand. So I'm going to go through a couple of the combos, and then I will do a quick power shuffle and do some test hands, just to kind of show you like different scenarios with different things in your hand, what you can do. And kind of like the way I play it. First combo I'm going to show you is if you were to just say in your hand the only two monsters you have, so you can just throw in with my build, say I opened with these two monsters and a copy of Anti-Spell, Dimension Barrier, and Crackdown, for instance. But so these are the only two monsters I have. For this combo, you would start by normal summoning the Scareclaw Acro, and in doing so with Reichardt's effect, you may special summon it to zone adjacent to it, to which now we would use, in this case, we would use Reichardt's effect to search out the Arrival, which is the monster reborn for them. And so our goal now, since these are only two monsters, our inboard is to have Tryhard on board. So we will link off that Acro for the Salamangreat Almirage, and then you would activate the Scareclaw Arrival to reborn the Acro, and then you now have your three effect monsters needed for a link summon of Tryhard, to which we will use Tryhard's effect to reborn the Acro, which allows us to add another Scareclaw monster from our deck to our hand. And since we've already used Reichardt's effect, I would in this case would go with Astra, and I would then use Astra's effect to special summon it, so that now we have on field Tryhard with a boost from Acro of 600, and Astra giving him 2 attacks. And then in the graveyard you have the Arrival to protect Tryhard from a card, from destruction of card and or battle. Now, if you were to take the same starting point, which would be these two, so let's now say we have another monster, and let's say we have a 1-of Parallel Exceed in hand. This would be a ideal hand to open, or ideal combo to open, for the fact that we're going to get to our inboard that we would prefer to have. So same basic principle. You normal the Acro, special the Reichhardt. We're still going to add the Arrival to our hand, so that we can for sure get to Tryhard. So we would now link off Acro for Almirage. Now you want to make sure you have an open spot to Almirage's arrow, because on that link summon we're going to actually Parallel Exceeds effect to get it out, and then also special the second Parallel Exceed. So now what this does is we have 2 level 4 Parallel Exceeds, Reichhardt, Almirage, and then we're going to use the Arrival to once again special that Acro. I'm trying to get these cards where you can see them a little bit better. So now we're going to take, and like we did in the first go, same 3 monsters we're going to link off for Tryhard, and then before we use Tryhard's effect, we're going to overlay these Parallel Exceeds for Baguska. Now this is your ideal board, because you're still going to go Tryhard's effect, special out Acro, add the Astra, set the Astra, so like same board, same setup with these guys as well. Go with 3600 with 2 attacks, but you now also have Baguska on field, so that your opponent has to decide, is Tryhard their problem or is Baguska their problem? 9 times out of 10, I feel like most decks, Baguska is the bigger problem. So more than likely that that will probably be your opponent's first target to get rid of. I've had several people, just because they don't truly know what the Scareclaws do and how they all function, because it's just not a very popular deck right now, because I think it's kind of overlooked. So you'll see a lot of people try to get rid of Tryhard instead of Bagooska. But I feel like, for the most part, once Bagooska's on board, it can be more of a problemsome card, because of it keeps your opponent's monsters from activating their effects once they're on field. Where Tryhard doesn't, he just protects himself from their card effects. So that's the first kind of little hand there. Another potential opening hand we could do, I won't go fully into it because it's kind of along the same lines. If, say, you only open one of the little guys, and if you are able to open up the primitive planet right over the field, it literally will get you to the same point that opening that will. So it's kind of the same start there. If you can at least get one little one and the field, and or a way to just get Reichard. Same thing if you were to get multiples of the little one, like 2 of the little ones in a Reichard. You're going to kind of go along the same lines as what you were, but what you may be able to do a little different here is you normal the Reichard, use your search to get the arrival. You can get the arrival, or at this point, if you want to, if you don't want to try to get Bagooska on board, you can go for their trap card, which allows you to have a negate on your opponent's turn when you activated it, as long as you have Tryhard on the field, because we're going to get Tryhard with this. As long as if you have at least 3 of them, you're going to get Tryhard almost immediately. So you can, it's up to you. There is a way you can go from these 3, because you'll be able to just special them out. Add the arrival once Reichard's on board, link them off for the Tryhard. You get Acro back, and then with that effect you can add another Reichard, which you haven't special summoned yet, so I can special it out, and then use Arrival to pull the other Reichard out. The only problem is you couldn't go into Bagooska on this exact turn because you've already used his effect to lock you in, but on next turn, if everything is still there, you could go into Bagooska. But as far as probably what would be optimal, if you were to open with Reichard and 2 small ones and no other monsters, your best choice, instead of taking this immediately, would be going to get the trap, so you have that negate on board. Now, at any point, if you open up the optimal place for Scareclaw and Parallel Exceed, it is an almost automatic Bagooska as long as the Exceed's effect is not negated. Now, there are several plays where if you have, say, Rescue Cat and one other Scareclaw, which in this case we're going to do Scareclaw Reichard. If you normal summon the Rescue Cat, now this is not the ideal way to have to do this, because if Rescue Cat is negated, it pretty much leaves you with a 300 attack body out there that you have no other way of doing else, because there goes, that is your one normal summon. You don't have a way of getting another Scareclaw out on the field to be able to do anything. But if you're able to get its effect off, you can then search out 2 of the little guys, put them in defense, and that way when you special Reichard, you now have the ability to use his effect to add the spell or the trap, whichever you would prefer, to what else you may have in your hand. If you can get to Bagooska, you can add the spell. If you can't, probably would go with the trap. But on top of just being able to add it, you also have Reichard's effect now at this point to draw a card once you've searched out the card you want. So yeah, like I said, as long as you get at least 2, a Reichard and one of the small ones, or at least 2 or 3 of the small ones, and some of it, you can kind of play freely into your combos and almost get Tryhard on the field pretty much automatically. But with that being said, I'm now going to do like a quick power shuffle. and then I'm gonna just kind of run through some test hands and kind of show you the plays there and kind of how I go through the everything and you kind of see how my mindset is on and playing it, and just where I've thought of different things to get it done. But like all decks, it depends on what you're playing, what you have extra in your hand, which is why I don't mind doing these tests. I'm not gonna mind doing these test hands because it kind of lets you see everything that you have in your hand. So because it can change things, but also if you're hand trapped at the right time or on some other searching things, it may hinder you from being able to search out that arrival and getting that reborn to get that third monster on board. So yeah, we'll get into these test hands real quick and we'll do about 3 or 4, and I'll call it a wrap for now. Like always, if you do happen to watch the video fully through and you see something that you may do differently or might work out better, feel free to comment. I am open to all suggestions. This is like the 3rd or 4th technical build I've done with this deck. I've originally started out with the Tri-Brigades and switched to this. I feel like it's a little bit more free-flowing and works a little bit better. But all right, so say we get an opening hand here, and with this one, pretty well set here, because I've opened it with an Acro, 2 Balloon, the Field, and an Ash. So more than likely what I would do to start, just to kind of see if I can base my opponent, so I would activate the Field, which would allow me to then search, and I'm going to take and search out the Rykart. It's usually more likely, unless it's already in your hand and you can search out another Scareclaw monster, Rykart's usually your go-to because of its ability to search. So we'll add it to our hand. Now I'm going to take, since I have 2 copies of Balloon, it's going to be my automatic. That's what I'm going to start out with the normal summon of. So we'll normal summon the Balloon, and then I'm going to turn in special the Acro, and then special the other Balloon. So this way I've got 2 defense monsters already, so that when I special the Rykart out, it now gives me, it gives me that 3rd defense position monster. So now I can take it, I'm going to search out. So now I've got to really consider what I'm going to do here, because I've already used Rykart's ability to special summon. So I'm more than likely not going to be able to get Baguska on board. So what I'm probably do, I can't get Baguska on board, I'm going to go and search out the trap. I'm going to search out Splash so that I can have a negate on board for my opponent's turn. And also one of the cool things is now that I've added, I get Rykart's other effect to draw a card, which my draw in this case is the Field, which I can't activate now, which is fine. It gives me somewhat of a starter the next turn. So now I will set that Splash before I go too far and forget. But I will go ahead and probably link the 3 small ones off and get my Tri-Heart. And then I'm going to use Tri-Heart's effect to bring back that Acro, and then add the Astra, because it's the only other one I haven't seen, and also the only one I haven't used the effect of. So I would then just use Astra's effect to special summon. So I now have a 3900 Tri-Heart on board with 3 attacks, and then Rykart's kind of there to give me that extra, like a 2100 defense, which all of the small ones have high defense. But then I also have in hand the Field, an Ash, and then I'm setting with my negate on board. So yeah, there's that hand. So let's get these all shuffled back in and try another one and see what happens. I'd say for the most part, this deck, the plays are very similar. If you don't have all those, you're more likely going to do the Almirage. I think I used Almirage to get the 3rd body. I want to say almost every at least twice each match in my last locals. But yeah, it's a very common combo, and it's probably the one you'll see the most of, and your opponent will recognize what you're doing. And if they don't have any hand traps, or they just don't play any hand traps, then you're gonna be set, because that's actually the last match against Heroes. The guy doesn't play hand traps, so I was set pretty decent against him, but not exactly the best at times. So this would not be an optimal hand. It's not the hand that I would prefer to have with a parallel exceed in hand, because I'm not going to be able to use the parallel exceed to go into Baguska. Instead, what you would end up doing here is you would be stuck normal summoning Balloon, linking it off, like I said, for your favorite person or your favorite buddy in the game. In the extra deck is Almirage, and then parallel exceed, you'll have a second one if it's not negated, and then those two get you the body with it for the try-hard. So that would be about as far as you could go, and then try-hard would get you back this Balloon, and then I would probably do, so let's see, let's play it out. So just to kind of play out here, so we'll get that other parallel exceed. I said I'm going to link those off. I'm going to get that try-hard. I've got this trap in hand, so I've got that negates, because I'm going to use his effect to bring back the Balloon, which allows him to have piercing. Now in this case, I could add Acro or Astro. Acro would give him the 36, but I'm going to go ahead and add Rykart, and then Rykart's effect, special, and then I can go in and add the Arrival back to my hand, and then I'm going to hold on to this Arrival because, for one, I don't have anything to Reborn, and I don't want to just, and I can't link into anything else, so I'll hold on to this to go in for next turn and just set that for the negate, and then I have a Reborn for next turn depending on what I draw. Hopefully in one of these next two hands I'll get the nasty hand that has the full throttle combo where you're going Baguska with try hard, and then have some other stuff that you could possibly set and mess with your opponent some too. But so like I said, I was gonna do about 4 or 5. I'm gonna do about 2. See how the next 2 go. If I can get the big combo, I will. If not, I may do an extra one just to see. Let's see our next hand. Gonna open up a little bit better here. So like I said, this one you're gonna open up a little bit better. You've got, for on your opponent's turn, you've got an Ash and a Veiler just waiting over there, so that's always nice to have. And then you have a way to literally go right into Tryhard. So you would activate the field spell first, add your Rykphobia, or not Rykphobia, I'm sorry, Rykart. So then I'm going to normal acro, special that Balloon, and then special Rykart. Now in this case, I don't get the extra, I don't get the draw card, but considering I'm going to have Tryhard on board, I'm going to go ahead and grab this negate. So now I will have potential of 3 negates after I link for Tryhard. We use Tryhard's effect. I normaled acro, but it doesn't really matter because the other target I'm going to get is, you're more likely almost always going to go acro and Astra as your first 2 you're going to have here, just because they're the added attack, and then the extra attacks is going to far more be useful than the piercing a lot. So piercing with Balloon comes in later. So now I'm going to shuffle this up, and then this is when I would probably pass turn to my opponent. And then, so like I said, after you set these 2 cards, so now on their turn, I've got an Imperm down, the Splash, it's a negate, and then an Ash in hand. So they have several negates they would have to play through. So yeah, we'll go on to the next hand. kind of see. So yeah, as far as the weak spots, you just, I mean, it's gonna happen at some point. Is if you need the search off Rykart and it gets negated, it can put you in a spot if that only leaves you with just 2 monsters on board and you can't get to that third one because you need the monster born. It can cause trouble. Now here's one of those things I was talking about. Not a terrible hand as far as you're going to be able to stop your opponent, but not ideal as you're not going to be able to do a whole lot else. So I've got with this one, you've got your anti-spell, you've got your D-barrier, if they're playing a deck that can hit, and then you've got a crackdown. So you could potentially have an extra body if they can't keep you from the crackdown. I've got this flashing hand, so really if I normal the Rykart, it will give me the arrival. So I normal it gives me the arrival. I'm going to then drop 4 face down. And if it wasn't for playing Rykart, your opponent would probably think you're playing an Eldritch deck with the amounts of face downs you throw down. So that, yeah, on my next turn, if all that happens and I get the extra body, you just really hope you can draw that extra monster or something to kind of go into, but otherwise that is kind of a dead hand as far as going into a big combo. So since we're not having any luck right now, which I promise you this deck is very consistent at not bricking, so let's see what happens if I can kind of just show you with an ideal hand that I've come across. Just pick out 3 here. So if you could get this as an opening hand, which I gave us the protection with the call by, because that is always something nice to have. So let's say we open up with the Rykart, Acro, Exceed, Imperm, and called by. So now what you're going to do is you'll normal that Acro. I'm going to special Rykart. Just kind of show you where my hand's at. Which then, like I said, you're going to search, at this point, you're going to search for Arrival, because you are going to link this Acro off for Almirage, which once you do, you now Parallel Exceed. And let's say your opponent didn't hit Rykart, but oh, Parallel Exceed, now I'm going to hit you. So we're going to call by. We're going to save that Parallel Exceed because that Parallel Exceed is going to get you the Baguska. So now we have that other one. I'm now going to use my Arrival that's in hand for my Acro. And I'm going to go ahead and link these 3 off for Tryhard. And then we're going to overlay for Baguska. And you have to make sure you remember to overlay. If you have that, you overlay for Baguska before you go into Tryhard's effect, because Tryhard locks you into Scareclaw. So now I'm going to go ahead and set Imperm, which you kind of set it in the zone you feel like your opponent's going to hit the most. We're going to go to Tryhard's effect for Acro, and then also add the Astra to hand off that to special it. So now this is kind of the big field that I like to get to as much as I can with, like I said, as long as you have either like an Imperm, an Ash, just something that you can also use on your opponent's turn to interrupt. But I now have a 3600 or 3900 Tryhard because I've got 3 defense position monsters. He has 2 attacks, and then I've got a Baguska just sitting over here being an annoying, fat, lazy tapir that's going to keep my opponent's monster's effects from activating as long as they're in defense. And then you also have the Arrival Engrave as an added protection from card destruction or battle destruction for Tryhard. So yeah, that's just kind of a quick rundown of a combo tutorial for the deck. Like I said, that I know there's had a few bricky hands there doing that, but it is I feel like a very consistent deck. I think it's a very underrated deck and overlooked right now. That's something I didn't do in my deck build, is I didn't show like an extra deck that I use, so I'll do that real quick. The extra deck I run is your typical a lot of your going second cards, which is I do 3 nib, 2 evenly, a DD Crow, 3 Dark Ruler. A lot of those can be looked at as like if you're going second, just to kind of mess with your opponent some, and then some other things I do if I'm going first and I want to, I've got 2 Solemn Strikes in. And then I've got 2 other cards. One you can use when you're going second. Just kind of depends. I never sided either of these in, but I have 2 Alpha, the Master of Beasts. He could be a quick pop or field or removal for you on your if you've got the ability. And then another card I have in here just in case is it could come in handy maybe in like the certain situation, but it is Cocktatorium, the Heavy Metal Avian. The reason I have this as a potential card to run in the deck is it has the effect to copy. You can send a card. You can banish 1 level 4 lower Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your deck. This card's name becomes that banished monster's name. Also becomes that type, attribute and level, which that part's not really important, but the name can come in handy with the Scareclaw, because that's what you really need. Is you gotta have a Scareclaw monster for all of his effects to be able to special summon. So yeah, him being able to copy the name is huge. The level 1 would come in handy with the Psychic Will Editor that I run, which is just an extra body if you have the level 3s on there, because he can special summon himself. And then anything else as far as that goes, I know one thing I didn't show you in combos, because it kind of comes up in certain situations, like a couple hands later, would be with Valerian Fawn. You just synchroing it off, but like I said, it's not something you typically do on your first opening hand. Because it takes a normal summon to get the Valerian Fawn out, and usually you're having to use your normal summons to get the Scareclaw stuff started somehow. So, but yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you have any comments or any suggestions or anything, just drop it in the comments. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.